Yes, we're not big on product placement.
We're not big on product placement at all.
That's easy for you to say.
He's not really got a mouth for the tea. Right, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. This is going to be Q&A episode 2. After the first one, we were a little bit shocked and stunned. Were you shocked and stunned? Were you shocked and stunned?
Dazed and confused.
We were indeed shocked and amazed by the amount of support that we had for it. It was rather fantastic. And when we put up the shout out for the next lot of questions, it went completely berserkoid. We have had to date, how many?
100.
100 questions. So you can be alright with that, love. Quite obviously we're not going to get them all answered today. So what we're going to do is 4 episodes. We're going to film them in succession and we're going to get all of the questions answered. We know how important it is for you to get your question answered, certainly when they're technical questions that you need replies to, and on that basis we're going to do a shorter video because lots of criticism last time on an hour and a half video, and I know what you mean, that is a little bit too long-winded to watch, isn't it? So this is going to be a little bit shorter, as you've already seen. If you look at the bottom you'll see this is a much shorter video, and the 4 of them will be coming up over the next 4 weeks. That'll be a weekly show on Sundays for y'all to enjoy. Excellent.
It's that old Downton Abbey, isn't it?
It's now Downton Abbey. I think we've got some competition here, don't you? Right, yo. So what about some introductions as usual? With us as always we have the delectable Penny Pitstop and
Yeah, lots of that.
who have you got?
These 2 idiots.
That wasn't what we planned. Oh well, okay, there you go. So anyway, without further ado, into the first question. So Penny, who?
Well, first of all, I don't have my waffle.
No waffle.
Because you ate it.
I've got to deal with the enemy, haven't I?
Isn't that what
I
it's
now
for?
have upgraded my weapon of choice.
It's Mystic Meg! Septic Pig!
You get that round, you get that, it might be paperweight, you get that round, look at
There may not be an episode 3.
No, I hope you've enjoyed watching Delboy's Garage, because the first time we enter into waffle, someone was going to fucking die. You sure? Why don't you just use a hammer and get it over with?
Can I just check my insurance before we carry on? I want to phone my agent.
I thought it was a bit more colourful than a hammer.
No, it's purple.
Oh,
a girl would choose purple.
Yeah, never had this trouble with Timmy Mallet.
Mr. Mallet! Mr. Mallet! Right, come on, Penny.
Right.
Enough of this banter.
Okay, right, we've got mixtures of technical, help and a bit of social. So, first question, Daniel Nash.
Daniel Nash. What up, Daniel?
I have squeaky rear shoes. Sorry.
You're worse than we are.
Yes. Charades, dear.
I have squeaky rear shoes, sorry Daniel, on my GZ125. How can I get rid of it? And also, what exhaust can you recommend for a 2002 SV650?
That's over you. You're an SV owner.
Well, doing the SV650 first, there is a massive array of choice. I personally am looking at a set of cans for my SV1000 at the moment. My favourite so far, although I haven't actually put my hand in the pocket yet, is Pipeworks.
You keep that to yourself.
Yeah, quite.
That's for after.
I go very quiet then. But Pipeworks, British company, quality product, a little bit pricey, but then
Blue Flame are good, aren't they too?
yeah, Blue Flame's good.
Yeah. If you want a cheap one, they're Carbon Can Company. They're kind of universal.
Beowulf is good for a budget can.
Yeah, how'd you say that?
Well, how do I say it, or how is the correct pronunciation?
Beowulf.
As I say it, Beowulf.
Beowulf. How would you say it, Ben?
Beowulf.
Beowulf.
But
That sounds French. Anyway,
but they're a great
Beowulf,
brand.
yeah.
Budget brand, great,
Yeah.
great
But
brand.
how does he stop his squeaky rear shoes?
That's yours, you know
Want
about
me that one again? Right, okay. Shoes and pads on disc
Oh,
brakes as well. You get like a glazing effect on the face of the pad and the shoe. Easiest quick fix, or the way I do it, is a little bit of paraffin and a little bit of wire wool on the face of the shoe. Just quite rigorously to rough it up a little bit, and the paraffin will take the glaze off, and the wire wool will sort of just key the surface a little bit.
Yeah.
That should do it.
Yeah, you can also do a little bit on the drum, can't you?
Yes.
The metal surface inside the drum, you'll see it's all shiny and polished. If you take a little bit of that off gently with some emery cloth, or some, like they said, some wire wool and paraffin, and that just scuffs it up, and then you'll also find the brakes are a lot sharper as well. It's just really glazed up in it.
Yeah.
Next question is Charlie P.
Charlie, what up, Charlie?
Help.
He asks you, Dale,
Right.
what do you think of your stock tyres on your Scrambler? Are they any good?
Excellent. Right, they are the Trailwing. What's the brand? Can't remember. Let me just have a look at the brand. They're on here somewhere. Bridgestone, there we are. Bridgestone trail wing tyres, for those who don't know. I find them absolutely amazing. They really are. They're totally confidence inspiring. They're knobbly and aggressive looking, but unlike the TKC 80s, they don't have that judder effect at walking pace. They're nice and smooth from the get-go. And as far as grip in the wet, the dry, the slurry, the filth, so far they've never even twitched. And the one thing I have noticed about the Scrambler ever since I've owned it is the way it begs you to just throw it into corners. It absolutely loves it, and you wouldn't have that confidence to do that if your tyres didn't inspire that. So the Bridgestone Trail Wing are awesome. I absolutely love them to bits, and they are not expensive either. They're really not bad value.
There you go. Stephen Northam.
Stephen, hello mate.
Alright, Stephen.
I've returned the GS750 FX back to work in order with your videos.
Top man.
I know, yeah, teapots, yeah.
I've had the brakes refurbished and fitted braided lines to the front and bled the back and front till I'm blue in the face, but they still feel weak and nowhere near as sharp as other brakes. What am I missing?
Okay.
Agony solve it.
The simple solution to that is you've got air in the system. It's a combination of that and possibly the discs need cleaning. If you've got bobbins on the discs, give them a clean so the discs are not stuck and gummed up. But the other issue is bleeding up. There's something that I've done with brake bleeding on the front of bikes, especially for years, is to bleed it upside down. Take the calipers off the legs, keep the whole system plumbed up, don't break into any of the hydraulics at all, keep it all sealed, take the calipers off and lift them up above the bike. Hook them up on the ceiling of the garage, stick a bit of old number plate in between the pads to represent the disc so that the pads don't pop out. And then you can bleed them upside down, but give it overnight first. Then all the air in the system, all those microscopic bubbles, they'll work their way up just by gravity. You're using nature, aren't you? You're using nature as your friend. Let all that air in, it'll go right up to the calipers. And in the morning, get someone to pump the lever while you hold the caliper and just open and shut the nipple. And honestly, you'll get one puff of air come out, which will be all that was in there, and they will be rock solid. It works absolutely every time. And it's how they do it in tech workshops and race bike shops as well. So that's it. Bleed them upside down. They'll be perfect, mate. You'll be fine. Next one.
Cool.
Hope that works.
The mince pie.
The mince pie.
Splendid
Splendid name.
like
Splendid name, mince pie. Congratulations.
Anything to do
I'm
with
going to drink
cakes?
to that. Yeah. That's a cake. Is that a cake? A mince pie?
Oh, that's a pie.
It's a pie, isn't it? It's a cake pie.
Yeah.
We'll come to that later. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's definitely not a biscuit.
No, it's not. It takes a biscuit though for Christmas.
He says I have a high revving FZR 400RR without rev limiter.
It's easy for you to say.
Would it be worth investing in one?
A retrofit rev limiter. It depends whether you're going to rev it off the clock, doesn't it, really? It depends whether you feel you need to. You can fit them, can't you?
You can get them, yeah. All sorts of different styles of aftermarket kit. Relatively easy to fit.
Yeah. If you're going to do burnouts and stuff where you might be pushing it past the point of no return, then it's a safe thing to go for the money it's worth, really. But ask yourself the question, where's the red line? Where's the power band? If I seem to remember rightly on those little 400s, they rev a lot, they rev past the power band. So you'll find where the power band is, but they keep revving. Many Jap bikes don't now. They'll get the power band is at the top of the revs and then they just drop off there. So it depends how the bike's tuned. But if you're worried, then it's never a bad thing to invest in.
Particularly if you're doing track days, I would suggest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you've got to be a cheaper investment than a new motor, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just buy some earplugs, yeah.
That's it, some earplugs, yeah. Brush. So we got the bits.
Yeah, a bin.
Yeah, sawdust. That was spill dry.
Watch it.
It's a bigger deterrent, that, isn't it?
That's a serious
A kilo
deterrent.
of glass.
Serious
On
deterrent.
the canister.
Yeah.
Go.
Skulls and Bones.
Skulls and bones. Hello, mate. Are you alright?
What's the best bike you've owned or ridden? Mine has to be a factory KX250. Believed to be Kurt Nichols' is at one point.
Did he miss it? Did he know you took it?
Well, I'm going to dive in first here.
Go on then.
Go on then.
Because the question is marginally different to one we got asked last time.
Yeah.
The last one said, you know, best bike you've owned, and that says best bike you've owned or ridden.
Right.
Doesn't it? So,
Yes.
which is subtly different.
Yeah.
It has to be your Hayabusa.
Oh wow.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Yeah.
As a you know,
Yeah.
as a bike to ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with that as well. I was lucky enough to work in the bike trade for 10 years, and in that period, through stock, we bought in and sold on. We had a Titan Gecko. Now you have to Google it. Titan are a custom bike building company from Texas. I think they're still around. They may not be. I'm not sure. But the Titan motors, they used an S&S engine. rather than the Harley engine. They dealt with the suspension, they dealt with the frame flexing. In fact, they dealt with every performance issue. They were a proper performance Harley in the 90s when no street bobs and no night rod specials and things like that were around. So Harley really didn't have a performance option. So mine was definitely a Titan Gecko, which I thought was an awesome and amazing bike. And if I could have afforded it, I probably would have bought it.
Oh, you would you?
Yeah. It was about 15 grand though, I don't think I'm going to go there. Right, what's the next one, babe?
Tenkerson says, I noticed on the final walk round of your Bandit rear end project that you were running a single front disc, whereas on older videos you had twin discs.
I did.
What's up with it?
Ah, that's easy. It's here. I was wondering where it was. No,
it's
short
on coasters.
Yes.
That's our cake plate.
That's a cake plate. Now what it was, when I rebuilt the caliper on the other side, I put it all back together with one just to experiment and see what the whole concept of one caliper was like, working on the basis of the diversion. The big diversion's got one, isn't it? I think 600s.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of these retro bikes with one disc. Also, Penny's Harley, which is 250 kilos, some 50 kilos heavier than the Bandit, and it's got one disc on the front and it stops fine. And I just thought I'd put it on, see how it goes, and whether or not it's going to be that detrimental and by how much the braking reduces. One thing I noticed straight away, which is a fantastic little experiment, was when you brake, you've got a master cylinder that's volumed for 2 calipers working on 1. So it bites mighty hard, it really does. And I reckon the braking force is only reduced by about 25% at the most. And if you read the road and you don't ride like an idiot too often, then it's actually fine. And since then I just haven't been bothered to put it all back together.
So you're saving a couple of pound of unsprung weight, aren't
yeah,
you? They do say, don't they, for every pound you save of unsprung weight, it's like the equivalent of about £6 of sprung weight.
Yeah, it does make us like the front end's a little bit lighter without 2 kilos of steel spinning around and a caliper. So for what that's worth on the Bandit, ultimately this is going to go rolling fine.
Sounds good.
Well, he then goes on. The second part of his question is: was there a moment when you decided to go rat survival with the Bandit?
When I was looking on eBay to buy the Bandit, because what it was, very very quick. Just got to run it through. We had. We have a business, a family business, and it was bigger, it's now smaller, but whilst the business was reducing in size through the years of the recession, I sold my Fat Boy and cashed in the difference for an XR1200, sold that and then bought an Iron, and each time that paid the tax bill. So we were just economising right the way down, and I got to the point where I had the Iron. All these bikes have been in videos. The 883 Iron that I made the belly pan for, I sold that finally, and then the business was saved. It gave us enough money in to invest in the business to save it, and that was a worthy thing to do. And what I had left was about 1,800 quid, 2 grand, and went out and bought Bandit. But I didn't want to get too precious with it, so I just ratted it. And I love rat bikes to bits, but I didn't go and buy a £500 wreck to then rat. I bought a nice bike. The early photos of it, I look back now and think, well, I did it. It was a really nice bike. Yeah, it was a really nice Bandit when I got it, but the great thing was that meant I had no issues with mechanics. So the point I decided was the point I bought it. I bought it to rat it in the first instance, and I think that I wouldn't do it on a cheap rat of a bike anyway because they've got too much neglect.
No, too much work to do.
It is. Go on.
Ivaldas. Hi Ivaldas.
Hey, hi Ivaldas.
He's a big fan from Lithuania.
He is. That's easy for you to say.
I can say it.
What's
your opinion regarding the remap after the air filter change to high flow only? Is it a must?
The guy at Triumph didn't say so, did he?
Well,
he said that's fine.
I would suggest if it's air filter only,
yeah,
not pipes.
Yeah. Not at all. I'd say that what you've got to look at is what bike you're riding. Harley tend to prefer the whole lot done. They like the air filter and the pipes and some form of fueler done. What you've got to do is...
It makes sense. If you're going to do one part, why not do the whole lot?
You've got to do it, yeah. I don't know how essential it is, depends on the bike. I think that's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it depends what bike you're looking at. But for the Triumph, the tech guy at Triumph who remapped mine said, it doesn't really matter, just an high flow filter's fine, because they don't flow more than 10%. The reason for this is because modern air filters flow way better than the old piles of boxes of tissues.
Awful,
I think they should ram a box of Kleenex in there, didn't they?
It was a hedgehog or something, wasn't it? Jammed in your intake.
Yes. Bit of dead roadkill in it. But now I think modern air filters breathe so well that the upgraded free flow isn't much free flowing enough.
I think you just made that up.
I did, yeah.
Usually puts an edge on the end.
It is flowage.
Flowage.
Yeah. Right, next question. Mackie Bass.
Mackie Bass, way, Mackie Bass. Can you see it in the video? Mackie Bass, I want to show this. I haven't actually taken the trouble to do this yet. Mackie Bass, none other than my main man. Mackie is a pin liner, and he did this for us. If you like. Pin lined a saw with Delboy's Garage. And later on, we'll be doing some pin lining on your Harley. So Mackie Bass, awesome pin liner. Look him up on the net. Top man, what can we do for you, mate?
What's the best way to clean the aftermarket K&N or R&S filter with household goods? Question mark. Or can I use anything else apart from the cleaning kit, oil to lubricate and protect it after the wash?
There's always a kit, isn't there?
Yeah, there is always a kit, but to be honest, soapy water.
Absolutely. Mild soapy water.
Yeah, things like K&N, soapy water. Obviously let it dry, so it's properly
naturally,
dry.
Without
yeah, there are loads of kits, aren't there? And there's sort of various light oils and there's sprays and all the rest of it. But to be honest, I'd keep your money in your pocket.
Yeah, what I've always done is a bowl of hot soapy water, like a washing up bowl, put the filter in and just do the old coffee jar trick, innit?
Yeah.
Just agitate it in there for about 10 minutes, take it out, rinse it under a tap, rinse it gently with gentle running water from the inside out. So you're rinsing all the stuff off through the filter and let it dry. Don't put obviously compressed air into it because you'll split it.
You'll knacker it.
Just dry it in the air and put it back in. It's as simple as that. You can wear, if you're really living in a very dusty environment, you might oil it. I don't know, but I've never oiled one. I just put them back in.
No, I mean, I suppose we don't live in a really dusty environment, do we? But no, I mean,
well, they say you shouldn't. If you live in a dusty environment, don't oil them because they'll just gum up.
Yeah.
You leave them dry, but it depends. Personally, I've never oiled them. I just put them straight back in the CR. You can buy them.
Just washed them out, put them back.
If you're really worried, put WD-40 on them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you. Luke in cyberspace says, are there any issues that arise when your rear wheel circumference is larger than the front wheel? He's heard that a particular model of Honda had a smaller front wheel which was causing steering issues.
Right, okay. Honda 5-blade. Yeah, the early Honda 5-blades had a 16-inch front wheel, but they also had a big donut of a tyre that returned the circumference to the same rolling circumference as the rear. So it is a bit of one of those things that on a track day, on a good day, with a good rider, you might notice the difference. Some of the, I mean, when you consider it, these days 1717 is what it's normally about, and on most retro and sports bikes. But I believe personally that is more about tyre manufacturers having a universal application so they can supply a tyre for anything, rather than whether it's good for handling, and also the tooling. When you consider the same front wheel casting goes in about 50 different bikes.
Because tooling is seriously expensive.
Oh,
it's
gosh,
seriously big investment.
Yeah.
So the more modular you design, the better.
Absolutely. So I'd say it's not hugely important, but I suppose if it's been eradicated by someone as brilliant as Honda, then it must have been worth doing.
And at the risk of repeating myself from last time, particularly with things like Fireblades,
definitely,
the forum support for that is just massive.
Huge.
There are so many of them worldwide, and there are so many people willing to post up on forums their experiences, what they've found, how they've solved it or not. Just check them out.
The other side is tyres. If you're going to have something like that, you can't get them tyres anymore.
No,
you know, when you look at the early FJ 1100, a mate at work said he was going to buy an FJ 11, and I said, well, just see if you can buy a rear tyre. And he came back to me and said, they're just not available. No. It's little 16-inch by big 130 back tyres. So these days, a 17-inch tyre means tyre manufacturers can bang out tyres, and they're cheaper for you too. So it pays to go with the flow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a jobby. Right.
Right, I've got.
Where are we up to?
Doing okay. You'll have to excuse my pronunciation on this one.
There we go.
Astandane Grimal Calzo. I think I've got that right.
I don't think he's from round here.
Apologies if I've got that wrong. What is the best way to look after chrome and other polished metals? For example, when you get swirl marks.
We don't really do chrome, do we, as such? But polishing generally.
Yeah, polishing generally. I mean, I like things like Solvol.
Yeah, Autosol's good.
Autosol.
But swirl marks, isn't it?
But
it's gritty,
if you've got swirl marks already, that's because it's been cleaned and polished at some point with something which is mildly abrasive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the only way to get rid of something that's been marked by something that's abrasive is more abrasive.
It is a finer abrasive, isn't it? Yeah.
If it isn't damaged already, and you want to keep it all lovely,
shiny,
it's just something that's a pure polish.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. Simonized make a great range. The old Simonized wax, just plain wax. But I'm going to stick my neck out here and say something that's probably going to get some dislikes. Mr. Pledge.
Yeah.
Mr. Sheen furniture polish, because all that's in your furniture polish is wax.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
It's a pure polish.
I'm not joking. When I keep referring back to it, but during the time that I spent spending every day in the showroom, keeping bikes clean and up to tip-top condition, very often what you get in a showroom environment is dust. And you get a black bike that's got a flawless paintwork. If you then go put in a heavy polish on it, or even worse than that, just wipe it with a dry cloth, you can actually make the dust particles scratch the surface, because swirl marks, really, they're just microscopic scratches. So microfiber cloths are good, aren't they?
Yep.
Even a microfiber cloth, just a bit damp, is good enough to take away. Because often the swirl marks are not in the paint, they're in the polish, aren't they? If you've got a load of polish on a surface, sometimes that builds up and it makes marks. So you just have to reduce it a bit, get some of it off with some thinners, or white spirit in it.
Yeah.
A little bit of white spirit. Take the old polish off and repolish it from scratch. That works. Don't use thinners. That was a slip of the tongue.
Don't
never use thinners. Whatever you do, ever.
And don't use meths.
No, well, it would spoil it.
There's not normally any left.
Not normally.
Right,
next one.
Let's crack through.
Crack right
on. John Mirror, would you use MIG, TIG, or stick?
Definitely a you question. That
one. Right. Okay. Right. I wish I could use TIG, but I don't have a machine, and I've never tried it. But I love the concept. I use MIG because it's really easy, and I can't use stick because I'm shit at it.
Good answer. There you go. Philo Beddo.
Philo Beddo. That's a sterling name. Right, Philo. That's great. Turn right, Clyde.
Oh, I thought he was in The Hobbit.
You nearly got that.
I nearly got the paperweight.
Brain damage.
Would you ever sell the Rat Bandit?
Oh, that's difficult.
Who would want it?
What a stupid question. What was that?
Well, that's that question answered.
That's it. Well, I don't know. The difficulty is with that it's got 500 quid's worth of rear end in it. The swing arm is a big billet swing arm, and I probably got, with the fact that I bought a nice bike at the beginning, I've got over £2.5 invested in it. So unless I got an offer that's somewhere going to get me back to what I've invested, then no. Obviously I don't need to give it away. Problem with rat bikes, isn't it, is that everybody thinks it's a pile of shit, so it's worth 50 quid. It doesn't work that way. You've got to look closely at a rat bike. I've seen people rat Harleys, and actually if you then restored that with a 400 or 500 quid makeover, you got a 10 grand bike. It's all about in the eye of the beholder. But for me, the Bandit it's a bit of me now, and I find it hard to part with.
Cool. Okay. Spanner Monkey. This is a question for me actually.
Right.
Why do so few women ride bikes? Well,
that's
few factors. One being most bikes are too tall.
Yeah, it's a manufacturer's fault, isn't it?
Which is why I love Sportsters, because they're perfect for ladies.
Yeah, seat height.
And they are very tuned into women riders.
What, the company? Yeah.
But also, I don't know, you've got a lot of other factors, haven't you? Some women have got children.
I think it's still racked with sexism, isn't it? It's a man's world.
Yeah.
You know, I think I did a FRO on that motorcycling is a man's world, and that is a shame. But it's changing, isn't it? It's changing. There's something
I think it is. I mean, there are more women riders now than there were, say, 30 years ago. I mean, it was quite unusual, certainly within my social circles 30 years ago, to see anyone, any girls that rode bikes.
But then again, that's with the bikes, isn't it? Because with bikes 30 years ago, what could a woman ride but a scooter?
Yeah.
There's nothing low enough and light enough. And it's not just women, is it? I mean, guys that have got shorter legs. We know Jeff Van Rocco, he's got a sort of height issues and leg length issues, and he's stuck with a limited choice. And I don't envy anybody that. I really don't. I'm quite lucky to be.
And it's not just the bikes, is it? I mean, the whole industry. I mean, things like the clothing and all the rest of it. It is geared to their majority of their sales, which is.
You've had this attitude in shops as well, haven't you? You've been in bike shops where they look over your head. And talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, just like I can reach them. What's the next one for you? Year 2 then?
Yeah, and if I could work in the bike industry, what job would I do?
Well, you. Cool.
Yeah, me. What would I do?
What would you do?
I would love to work, because I obviously make and design jewellery and fashion. I'd love to work with Carol Davison at Harley.
Oh, proper job.
What,
design jewellery?
But design, they do a brilliant job, and I can see where they're going. But sometimes the red roses and the goth look isn't what a lot of women, feminine women, are looking for.
Eagles. Live to ride to the shops.
Yeah. So it would be fantastic, wouldn't it, to be able to develop a range of feminine street gear without the great big eagle in sequins on the back. Something really
what
cool
you mean by
and
that
street.
is, what you mean is women's clothing that's not designed for men to look at.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
would be a shame.
Very well put.
Be a sad day, but you know, it's got to come. Progress and all that.
Do we get a choice?
No, you can wear it yourself.
Right, moving on.
It's a thong thing.
Steel Fabric says, when doing a straight replacement of an automatic cam chain tensioner, can you simply remove the old one and install the new one, or do you need to pop the rocker cover off, set the engine to TBC, cable the chain to the sprockets, etc.?
Well, there's a yes and a no to that, isn't there?
Yeah, that's a cam chain tensioner from my Blackbird, and being a 4-cylinder bike, and you refer to you on this in a sec, being a 4-cylinder bike, the chain is under pressure at some point all the time. So with a 4-cylinder bike or a 6-cylinder bike, you probably can get away with it. I unbolted that and I mounted a manual one on, which I got an APE one, which I got from Devon Performance. I just did it by hand. I just bolted it in, tightened it up, adjusted it by hand, and rode the bike. But I think you got
however,
with twins,
particularly with V twins or with singles, and with some parallel twins like my TDM, the tension on the chain varies depending on where it is in the cycle. At some points it's much more tension than at others, so if you take the tensioner out at that point, you do run a serious risk of it jumping off one of the sprockets and misaligning your valve timing. It's not a major headache, depending on what your bike is. Have a look in the manual, there will be a description of where the engine needs to be at the point you do it. For instance, on the TDM it's cylinder 1, top dead centre on the compression stroke.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you're in the right place, as per the manual, whip the bolts out, take it out, new one in, job done.
So
it's 15 minutes.
And then the second part of his question is it any different if you're replacing an automatic CCT with a manual one?
The replacement procedure, or whether you should fuss about it or not, is exactly the same. You are literally taking one item out, putting another one in.
That's an automatic one with a spring in it, and the manual one's exactly the same, but it's just got a thread.
Yeah.
So the actual thing, when you look at it, they look very similar. The only difference is with the manual one, you've got to keep an eye on it.
I did convert a Suzuki one to manual years ago. I won't tell you the bodgery that went on to do it, but
as long as there was plenty.
But it started life as automatic and it finished life as manual, and it's a drill a hole grub screw. But the fitment is exactly the same.
Cool.
Right.
You escaped.
By the skin of the teeth.
Lewis NWKC says, when measuring chain slack, where do you measure from?
Right,
from the drive normally.
Yeah, because you've got this up and down.
Yeah, I know what the question. I know what he means by this. You mean on the chain itself? Where on the chain do you measure it from? And we did get more of your question. Quite simply, mate, measure it from the pins. I think he was talking about measuring it from the bottom of the chain. Then when you lift it up, measuring from the top.
Have you got a video on this?
I have, yeah. But I didn't kind of make that point. Honestly, as long as it's from the same point, what the measurement means is, it's whatever the measurement is, 1.5 inches, isn't it?
It does vary from manufacturer.
It does, yeah. But I mean, say it's 1.5 inches up and down measurement. It's 1.5 inches up and down movement of the chain. So take from the bottom and keep with that. Take from the top of the chain and keep with that. But I always go with a pin.
Yeah, but broadly, if you look at the side of the bike and the drive sprocket is there and the rear sprocket is there,
it's in the middle,
roughly midpoint. But before you do it, just rotate the rear wheel to find the point at which it's the tightest. Because if you're adjusting your chain at a point where it feels slack, it's tight elsewhere, you will be just midpoint between the two sprockets, the point that it's tightest. Just a screwdriver or a finger under the chain, up down.
Point where it's loosest.
Sorry,
tightest.
Tightest.
Tightest. Sorry, the point where it's tightest. You were right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is it. Because obviously you'll over tighten it.
I have a belt.
Yeah, just buy a Harley as a belt driver, no issues. Just deflection then. Oh no, hang on,
we've confused him completely.
Oh god, sorry mate. Right, measure the chain from the middle at the tightest point, job done.
Cool. One for Dave, Goth Girl. This is a question for Duke Dyson. Are you single?
I wasn't yesterday.
You probably are when you get home.
I might be when I get home, yeah. I'm in a bit of trouble this morning.
And a bit of treble. Bitty. Honestly.
It was either housework or coming over to Delboy's garage with sausage banjos, cake
and guess where I am?
This is a daft choice, isn't it? Let me think. Housework, garage. Daft. Next.
Oh dear.
Here we go.
So watch this space, Goth Girl.
Get back to you on that one.
Calf Racer Kate. Hi Kate.
Hey!
Met you the other day.
W800.
Question for you. Is it possible to retrofit carbs to any fuel-injected bike? She's seen it done on Sportsters and muscle cars, but is there any reason why you wouldn't do it to a bike engine?
Well, we talked about this before.
Yeah, I'll let you answer this because I'll waffle.
You don't want that, right?
If I answer this, we'll still be here on Tuesday.
Yes or no? Yes is extremely easy to fit a pair of carbs onto where the fuel bodies were. But the problem comes when trying to fire the ignition, because the ECU in a fuel-injected bike is everything. It's mother. It does the firing of the ignition, it fires the spark, it deals with the timing, it deals with the fuel mixture, everything. When you take all that off, yep, you can set the carbs up, you've still got to fire the spark. So you need an ignition system. Now you could fire it with a magneto, and that's what the old chopper Harleys will do, and that works quite well, but they're quite difficult to start because, plus the fact they're 100 years old. You can add a Dyna S2000, you can add a Mugen, or something like a standalone ignition system from the hot car world or something like that. But honestly, you're sticking a black box in the bike in order to fire the ignition when you're just taking one out. The other side of it is, why would you want to do it? You know, we had starting handles once and girder forks and dampers you screwed down on the desk. Let's move on, you know. I mean, fuel injection's not the enemy. It would be nice on the Triumph to put a set of CFR carbs on it, but firing the ignition is the problem. That's the issue.
Well, to revisit a point we made last time, I mean, I personally prefer the feel of the carb engine.
Yeah.
But 300 quid will make your fuel-injected engine feel like a carb engine.
Power
Commander, all similar.
Yeah, that's it. It does it, innit? A fuel-injected motor properly set up.
Yeah.
And also you get better fuel consumption and you can breathe in your garage.
Yeah.
You know, I can run the Triumph in here for 10 minutes and still breathe as if it's not running. I run the Bandit in here for 10 seconds and I'm choking and falling on the floor. So, you know.
That's when I lock the door.
Wonder why I couldn't get out.
That's what that rag is under the...
That's what wedged under the garage
Stop
door.
the exhaust fumes getting out.
That's the one.
Right, next question. David Gayford, textiles or leathers?
Ooh. You answer that. You answer that.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah.
From all fronts.
Bit of both. Very difficult for women.
You like a bit of both? That's a revelation.
Well, if you mix textile and leather, that's latex, isn't it?
Latex then is the answer to that one. Just use lots of talc.
Just don't get confused with spandex.
No spandex. But isn't that textile? Spandex is textile, isn't it? Just really too close to the body. So no, for me, I reckon leathers. Leathers for me was right. You.
A mixture because
both,
different cuts on different clothing.
However, if I had one jacket, it would be my leather.
Yeah, definitely. My leather fits better than any textile.
So it's leather all round, Mel, mate.
Leather. Fraser Johnson, and he's going to be moving into a new apartment that has no sheltered parking, no local garages. He's not too worried about security because it's a low crime area, but he's more concerned about being exposed to the elements.
It's an old people's complex.
Yeah. He's bought a cover from Halfords.
Smells of piss and orange.
But what does he...
Sorry,
did you say that out loud?
Did I think that out loud?
You will be in one day, Dave.
He's going home to it later.
Smelling of lavender.
Handbag full of peppermints and tissues.
One of you is going to get that round the head.
It's alright, I welded it to the bench. We'll try and pick it up, we fail.
Sorry, Fraser.
Sorry.
So he's bought a cover from Halfords, and what he's worried about is the extremes of temperature outside. So if it's freezing cold or boiling hot in the summer, is there anything he needs to be worried about?
Not really. I mean, we can refer to NT8 here. If your bike lives in the freezing cold, this is something that our good friend NT8 has had issues with his Certeo in Iowa because of the super cold temperatures. If your bike lives in super cold temperature outside, then the metal, if it's -6 outside, will be -6. It's the laws of physics. Now when you fire it up, hot gas, -6 cold metal, you'll get a lot of condensation inside your engine. So that's a very big issue. You must make sure if your bike lives outside in the cold all the time, you must make sure you get it proper hot when you take it for a ride, even if it means going around the block 4 times, because if you don't eliminate that condensation, as NT8's found out, he's got a rusted camshaft, he's got an engine that spits out mayonnaise for a pastime, you know, and it's all bad. So as far as the only thing I think is important is the internals of the engine for me personally, and I think that to protect that, if your bike's to live outside, just make sure when you ride it you get it hot and change your oil. I'd say a little bit more often.
Maybe more frequently than you would
perhaps
otherwise,
knock 1,000 miles off your oil change period. So if it's 5,000, do it at 3 or 4, because then you're going to have water content, you're going to be getting rid of it. And it does take a red hot engine half an hour to burn away a tablespoon of water, doesn't it? It really does. It's a lot more than you think. Remember, the water only vaporises at about 110.
Yeah.
And on a day when it's -6, your engine ain't going to get that hot, so you ain't going to evaporate it. It's going to build up and build up. So that's the one issue. The other is simple stuff, isn't it? Let it cool down before you put the cover over it. Because you'll burn it.
Yeah, because you don't
Set fire
want to
to
burn
it.
great holes in your cover.
And obviously the other thing is billowing in the wind, isn't it?
Yeah,
Damages paintwork.
You don't want the cover flapping against the bike, do you? And you don't want it resting. Well, ideally,
It's
you don't want it resting
extremities, isn't it? If you stretch a cover over it, if you've got a tailpiece that's pointed like the back of a sports bike, and the cover rubs that, you'll go rubbing through the paint. When I was at the bike shop, I saw years of that. Bikes coming into stock that were immaculate because this guy lived under a cover all its life. But yeah, it looks it. Every extremity is rubbed right through to the primer. So a cover can do damage. If you can afford a fleece-lined one, and they do exist, don't laugh.
I've got one.
Yeah, they've got a sheepskin coat you made out of an half a daily jacket, don't they? If you go,
it's Delboy's garage.
it's Delboy's garage. No, seriously, if you can put a soft cloth cover over the bike, like one of the dust covers you can buy, then your waterproof cover. I know it's grief. I reckon that's going to take more care of it.
Well, at the risk of product placement, which I'm sure we don't do, but Oxford's do make a cover has a soft.
There are other brands available.
Other brands are
available. Other brands are available.
Well, I happen to know that they make
Oxford,
one.
yeah, and also condensation, isn't it?
Yeah.
A fleece-lined cover is not going to get a condensation issue going on underneath the plastic, because plastic covers, I think they're just shit. I'd rather not have one.
So that's
answered.
We got a crack.
Okay, mate. Hope that helps.
Mark Williette. Hi, Mark.
Mark, hey, mate.
What are your thoughts on modern bikes having ride-by-wire throttles and 3-mode settings? Seems pointless to me. It's all in the wrist action.
Do you want that one, or shall I?
What was that last bit?
It's all in the wrist action.
I think we've said it all.
Right.
It's all in the wrist action.
Yeah.
I think it's a load of shit, mate. Honestly, if you've got a race bike and you're racing in World Superbike, great. That's where the products come from, isn't it? That's where all this stuff comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
Technology, you won't stop it, but I don't know, fly-by-wire throttle?
I don't know. I mean,
it's the future, isn't it?
I mean, it is the future. As once upon a time, automatic advanced retard on your ignition was the future.
The lawnmower, the little lever.
Yeah, the little lever on the handlebars. We wouldn't want to be doing that anymore, would we?
I think the point there is that you don't need it, yeah.
But you don't. But technology romps on, and you won't stop it.
And I really, it'll be a sad day for me. One of the reasons I bought the Triumph is that it's still reasonably analogue as a bike.
Yeah.
It's got fuel injection, but I can accept that. Everything else, it's got, it's all manual and it's all hand-on, and I kind of like that, and that's why I'm probably not going to buy new bikes from now on. You go and buy like the new Street Triple and stuff. It's all technology, it's all buttons and whistles, and then when they start having things like sport mode on a bike and then cruise mode, to me they've become an appliance, haven't they?
I mean, for me personally, I mean the big difference is, I mean a modern bike like a Triumph, like my SV1000, they're pretty reliable, great piece of kit, but if it does let you down, it's enormously complicated. That old Sacker that I ride, TDM, did let me down recently, but within 20 minutes, at the side of the road...
You managed to push it home?
I'd managed to push it home. I'd found a big hill. No, within 20 minutes, with a fairly rudimentary toolkit, it's running.
It's fixed.
And that's the difference.
That's it. Well, that's what this whole garage thing is about, isn't it? Bikes are becoming more complicated, and that is the enemy, because in some respects it means that you and I can't fix them anymore. And that means we're tuned or trapped and imprisoned by the dealer and their prices. So before anybody goes and buys a Triumph Explorer, think how much it's going to cost you to keep that thing, not now or within the warranty period, but in 10 years when it's done 100,000 miles and electronics start playing up. What are you going to do?
Ducati Multistrada is a classic example of that. One of the finest bikes, according to the motorcycling press, to hit the market in a long time. Until they're 3 years old, and then it's a pile of crap and you can't fix it.
Drop it in a shredder.
Yeah.
It's a shame. They're becoming disposable, so I don't think that's a good thing. Anyway,
okay, next question is Kevin Hennick from Iowa. Hi,
Kevin. The Plains State. The great
he's got an 05 883 XL Sportster.
Cool.
It's having some backfiring issues in the carb, unless the choke is 3/4 out. He's changed the plugs, used carb cleaner, and it didn't help. The bike was sat for a year before it was bought by him. Does he need to rebuild the carbs?
Right, okay, I can answer this directly. I can jump straight on this one. Again, I know I keep referring to it, but I spent a bit of time during the motorcycle trade working with Japanese imported 400s. Now, these bikes had spent up to 6 months sat in a container floating across from Japan, and they always suffered with this. They run final choke, but they wouldn't run any other way. And all it is what we used to call carb disease. It's simply that the fuel that's left in the carburetors for longer than 6 months or more, it just becomes snot. Basically, it just turns into a thick, sticky paste, and when you put the fresh fuel in, or worse still, carb cleaner, unfortunately, it dislodges particles of it, it gets into the jets, gums them up, and you start running lean. And then when you put the choke on, what you're doing when putting the choke on is you're increasing the amount of suction to suck the fuel through. So you're force feeding the bike by reducing the amount of air, aren't you? It's as simple as that. You're feeding it more fuel. So what you've got to do, my old mate, is rip the carb apart, clean it all completely with thinners or whatever carb cleaner you can, and make sure that when you put it back together, you use a fresh gasket set, because it will leak otherwise, and you should be good to go, shouldn't you?
Yep.
I reckon that's it.
Should be
it's just carb disease, mate, and it's common, it's normal, nothing to worry about. Just give it a good clean up and you'll be surprised it'll go like steam.
And the last two on this session.
The last two today.
Couple of little fun ones. Mr. and Mrs. B's brain dump.
Hey, brain dump. What up, fella? How you doing? Nice to hear from you.
He's asked a couple of technical questions. We will cover them in the next video. But he just says,
Tea's finished.
motorbike or motorcycle?
Motorbike.
I say bike.
Motorbike.
Yeah,
in fact, I miss out the motor normally.
Yeah,
It's
so
just-
do I.
it's a bike.
Bike. Motorcycle.
Good question, though.
Motorcycle. I
Good
think
question.
my nan says that kind of thing, doesn't they? Or the vicar.
Yeah.
Motorbike.
Didn't those yobbos in the Elvis Presley film call it a motorcycle?
Yes.
Or that might have been sickle.
Motorcycle.
It might have been sickle. It's
Motorcycle.
a bike.
No, that was in. What is it? They used motorcycle in the wild one.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
motorcycle. But that's
Yeah.
sickle, isn't it? That's cool. Motorcycle is like.
Don't you harvest with that?
Oh,
A
we're good.
motorcycle.
A
Now there's
motorcycle.
You're
A
getting-
motorised sickle. It's called a chainsaw, isn't it?
Oh.
Combine harvester.
Combine harvester. Okay, there you go.
Combine harvester. Okay.
And I've left this one till last because this is pretty cool.
Go on.
GT Hooper. And
Last question. The last question is
GT Hooper and Tylos.
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 Watch up.
A few of my mates, so that's them and their mates out there in Thailand. They're expats living in Thailand, avid followers and fans of the videos. We would like you and your friends' permission to start an idiot collective riding group in Thailand.
Well, what can we say?
Well,
The
given that
idiot
you've
collect-
already changed your name from Pat, as they're all expats.
You're all expats, so your name's no longer Pat, so we know who you are now. So that's brilliant. Yeah, well actually, no, you don't. You can't start an idiot collective, can you?
But you
Because
No.
if you're a collective, you're one group. So therefore, you're just part of the idiot collective. So welcome to
Welcome,
the idiot
welcome,
collective.
brothers
Welcome
and
to the
sisters.
worldwide charter.
The only thing you have to make sure is, like me here, you have to have a duty carer
Yes, indeed. I'm afraid
in
you
your
can't.
group to keep them in check, because these
Yeah.
idiots.
You
Will
can't
they be watching this after 9 o'clock in the evening, you think?
well, it is Thailand.
Because there is.
Do they
like-
have a 9 o'clock in
What,
Thailand?
do they have a watershed? Do you have a
Do
watershed?
they have a
I don't
watershed?
know.
No,
No, it's
they-
just that
well,
there was
monsoon season.
there was a condition, isn't there?
We're
to
completely
idiotness.
honest. We
In
are
that
very
some-
honoured.
Yes.
It doesn't go on things like Ivy.
No, it's right. But I think
Oh,
we
no,
are.
we
Yes.
don't have Idiot Collective on
Yeah,
holidays.
you must. You have to understand that once you are a fully fledged member of the Idiot Collective, which we will be happy to say you now are, you know that if you do wear a high vis vest, you realise that you will indeed dissolve
Yes.
on the spot. You will
Yeah.
just
And
vaporise.
I will just add actually, Brett Snow, hi Brett,
Hi,
in
Brett.
Australia.
Brett in
He
Victoria.
is the Idiot Collective.
Brett Snow is the Idiot Collective chapter of Victoria, Australia. He is the
Super.
entire. But be careful of those biking laws, my friend, because obviously if they find out that you've been fraternising with yourself, you'll get in trouble with the new anti-biking laws of Australia. So no fraternising with yourself, my friend.
I think that's the end.
I think that's
Time for
I think that's
tea.
it. So that was time for a cup of tea. We're going to make the next video after this, but it will be up next week. So we thought that might be a better time span and not too long-winded. So I hope you've enjoyed it.
I hope.
I hope.
40 minutes.
40 minutes or so. That's not too bad. Right, thanks for tuning in and watching Delboy's Garage. This has been episode 2 of Q&A. Join us for episode 3 next time, and ride safe.
See you next time.
See you next time.